Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 147 of Screw the Commute podcast. We're here with Terry Brock. This is a guy that ever since I became a pro speaker and joined the National Speakers Association, he was already the guy, the technology guy, and highly respected. And he's got the highest accolades even given out in the professional speaking profession. So I'm thrilled that he's on here today. Now, if you missed episode 146, Jane Ubell was there. She's a prolific businesswoman, a former TV and film producer. She helped me out developing my Scam Brigade show in Hollywood. Hey, if you want to get your book in front of really high rollers, she's got the most unique book promotion out there. You know, I have a lot of people that promote books and writing and all that stuff. Not even close to this lady. So check out episode 146. Now, our podcast app is in the iTunes store. You can go to screwthecommute.com/app, where we have complete instructions to show you how to use all the fancy features so you can take us with you on the road. Now, please, 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 if you know somebody that's either starting a business or wants to improve the one they've got, tell them about the podcast. I swear to you, they will thank you over and over. We have lots of training sessions on Mondays, and we interview great entrepreneurs like Terry on Wednesdays and Fridays. And then we also have special youth editions about once a month. You know, and youth is like up to maybe 22 years old. And we highlight young people that are doing great entrepreneurial things. Now, I got a big freebie for you to thank you for listening to the podcast. It's my $27 ebook, How to Automate Your Business. And just one of the tips in this book has saved me, we tried to figure it out, about 7.5 million keystrokes over the years. I also got another little surprise for you over there at screwthecommute.com/automate free. screwthecommute.com/automate free. Now, our sponsor this week, hey, it's me again. What do you think about that? It's a great internet marketing retreat and joint venture program where myself and my staff work with you for a year to either get you started in an internet business or use the internet to take your existing business to the next level. I'll tell you more about that later. Details are at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. All right, let's get to the main event. Terry Brock's here. Are you overwhelmed with the new gadgets and gizmos that hit the market on a regular basis? I know I am. I know my cell phone, I tried to get the kaching sound on it because I'm known as the king of kaching. And, I figured it'd take me all day. And you pass it off to somebody like Terry, it's on there in like 2 seconds. So this is a guy that helps us not go crazy with all these gadgets and gizmos that come around. So you're in good hands on this show. So Terry Brock's here. He's the one who specializes in helping people overcome overwhelm. So get ready to learn profitable ideas from this communication leader. Terry, are you ready to screw?
I'm ready to go for it and screw that commute.
Screw that commute. When did you start screwing the commute?
I'd have to say it was years and years ago. When I was in second grade, I started a business.
When did you start?
Selling stuff in second grade, actually. I was 7 years old. We did it and started doing it. And then right through school, I've been an entrepreneur at heart all along. And I tried doing the thing, what do they call that? A job once. And, it was okay, but I didn't care for it. And so I couldn't find anybody to pay me what I thought I was worth. So I just got out there and thought, hey, I'll just do it on my own. So now, Tom, as you and I know, and as you've helped so many people realize, hey, if you want to raise, you don't have to ask anybody for it. You just go out and earn it.
That's for sure. And well, what business did you start when you were in second grade?
When I was second grade, we would get little pencils and erasers and all kinds of things that we would find useful, and then put a little markup on it, me and two of my buddies, and we would sell them to the other kids at school.
That's really great. No internet at that time, right? So.
It wasn't real strong then. Yeah. Back then, we tried to get it, and I went to my buddy Abraham Lincoln, asked him to, but he didn't help us out on that one.
Oh, boy. So tell everybody what you're doing nowadays.
Well, today I'm doing what I've been doing for a long time, which is communicating. I communicate from the platform as a professional speaker. Tom, that's where you and I met
Yep.
many years ago and got a chance to know each other real well back in the 90s. And I've admired your work for many years. So I do that. I'm a writer. I'm a journalist by training, undergrad degrees in radio, TV, newspaper, worked for newspapers. And today doing a lot with video and with Zoom right now, most recently, a few weeks ago. You familiar with Ace Hardware?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they asked me to be their chief retail advisor for a big training program for all of their dealers outside of the United States. So not the
Wow.
US, but outside. So designing how-tos, using Zoom extensively, Facebook groups
Is
and
it
things
all
like
in
that.
English?
Yes, it's all in English, and so I'm working on my stumbling Spanish and Russian and Japanese, but still, it's predominantly in English, which is really good.
But you'll have to probably slow down a little bit, right? Because,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is all second language. English is a second language for just about everybody will be on there, right?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, I get that when I go over to England
Mhm.
and they
Oh,
say, "Hey,
that's
slow down." It reminds me of the old saying, the British and the Americans are two people separated by a common language.
That's a good one. That happens on stage too, when you have an international audience, or even if you have to have an interpreter while you're speaking. I mean, you
Mhm.
you end up with just about 1/4 the material gets out because of all the delays and the given time for people to understand. So that's quite a feat you're doing there.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, those kind of things we do. I just experienced that. Matter of fact, you asked what I'm doing lately. Just a few days ago, I was asked by a guy named Carlos Slim to go down and do a conference in Bogota, Colombia.
Carlos
Carlos,
Slim. Now, is that a
Car-
stage name or something? That's a
no,
pretty
that's his
cool
real
name.
name. And if you do a Google on Carlos Slim, you'll find he is like the third or fourth, I think now maybe fifth richest man in the world. He
Wow.
was the richest in the world a few years ago, ahead of Bill Gates. But Carlos Slim invited me to come down and do the opening session for a big session down there in Colombia. So you're talking about speaking a little more slowly. I had to do that. And by the way, the closing speaker was Ivan Duque, who is the current president of Colombia. So I scheduled to open, and then he did the closing. So those are the kind of things I'm doing. And I'm seeing for your listeners, the world is becoming smaller
Right.
in that now we're connected more internationally. And I would strongly recommend that you up your knowledge of what's happening internationally and particularly how Americans are perceived. You want to make sure you come across in a pleasing way, not in the obnoxious American way, which happens too often and sometimes without even knowing about it.
And how would you recommend you do that? Like, I know in my Wake 'em Up book, I have a section on international speaking, and there used to be I think University of Utah had some things that it was like a Cliff's Notes on different countries of their customs and mores and all that. So, but how would you prepare? If you're going to Slovenia, what would you do to get ready?
Yeah, what I would do is I would want to find out about that particular country, that particular culture, because it is different. You can't say, well, this one size fits all. And I really appreciate what you've done. I read your book many years ago, and the idea of understanding different cultures. If you're going to Slovenia, let's say I've never been there, but if I did, I'd want to learn a little bit of the language
Mm-hmm.
so that I could say at least words like thank you, most important.
Right.
Thank you. Know how to say that, know how to say good morning, good evening, and maybe some important things like, excuse me, where's the bathroom? Were very important words that you need to know in phrases, and then understand their culture, not to attack them, but know a little bit about who their president, prime minister, leaders are, so you could at least talk intelligently about that. Study their papers if you can find any that are in your native language. Mine would be Native American English, but read some papers, understand what's going on there, and I would want to come up to speed. The journalist in me loves getting in there, rolling up my sleeves and doing some research so that I can learn at least a little bit, a modicum of amount about what's going on so that I sound interesting. And like, for instance, down in Colombia, when I would say a few words in Spanish, they would like that. And they go, oh, yeah, yeah, you're trying to learn our language. Now, my Spanish is terrible right now, somewhere between abysmal and terrible. But nevertheless, when I could say that, matter of fact, I was in an elevator with Carlos Slim himself. He was just right behind me, and about 3 or 4 others that were there in a smaller elevator. We were going somewhere, and we were talking, and then there was a little pause. I said, well, there's one thing I know that we can all agree on. Necesito trabajar en mi español. And they just broke out in laughter because I just said, one thing we can all agree on, I need to work on my Spanish.
I always have this ready. It's habla más despacio, por favor, estúpido gringo.
Yeah,
It
speak
speaks
slowly.
slowly
Yes.
because I'm stupid gringo, and they love,
Yeah.
yeah, they love that too. And the problem is if you spit out something that's pretty good, well, then they come back at you like you're a native, and they're like going 100 miles an hour, and you have no idea what they're talking
Exactly.
about.
Exactly. I know you. So what we got to do is we got to pace ourselves and learn as much as we can. But that's where, here's what I would recommend. Seriously, if you're getting ready to go to Slovakia or some other country, and you know it, say a month or two in advance, this is why today it's better than ever. Pick up something like Duolingo, which is available both on iOS and on Android. It's free, and free is a pretty good price. Tom, is free
Yeah,
in the budget for you?
that's in my budget. Yep.
Yeah, it's good. And you can learn that and get some of the simple basic phrases. Couple that with something like Google Translate, which, yes, it's not perfect, but hey, it's a whole lot better than just flaying your arms in the air
Is
and
that the
trying to
one
get
where
something
you
across.
talk into it and then hold the phone up to them and it speaks in their language? Because I see an ad for that on online sometimes.
Oh, those are some other programs. There's a few of them out like that, but Google Translate largely I've used Google Translate for that, where I speak in English and then it translates it over into, for instance, I have a dear friend who's Japanese, and it would put it into Japanese.
In
And
writing,
then
or does it actually talk
both,
it? Oh, okay,
both.
good. Okay, yeah.
What it does first is it transcribes what you just said in English
Hmm.
into the transcription of that language, then speaks that language
Right.
to the other person.
Good.
And
Okay.
that is something that's really nice. Matter of fact, that's something that Alibaba is working on. I, a little while ago, had an interview with the general manager, the person in charge of Alibaba.com.
Wow,
It was
that's a
his
big place.
first ever English language interview, and he asked me to do that. They just studied me. He's working closely with Jack Ma, but he tells me this is what they're doing at Alibaba so that you can speak into your computer in your native language. They're using 16 languages, and then someone else can hear you in their language, speak back to you, and it's immediately translated so that you understand it. And this is all to facilitate commerce.
Right,
They are
right.
doing a lot right there at Alibaba.com.
Yeah, for sure. Now I just when you hear this, I swear I guarantee you don't know this tip, because I just did it myself last night. I was up till 2 a.m. You know how people talk about binge watching stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I ran across this site. It says, you're dating a Dutch man if, and then they make these scenarios where you can learn the culture by watching the dating interactions, and how a Dutch guy is going to say, well, why'd you dress like that? And then a Latin guy is going to be, oh, I love you, mi amor. And so I was up till 2 a.m. watching these, but they were very educational on the nature of people in those countries. So there's
Yes.
another way.
Yeah, that is a great way to do it. I think it's today, Tom, better than ever. You and I have been around technology
Yep.
quite a while. To think, hey, if you want to learn something, like so many of us, we go to the University of YouTube and we type in the topic, and by golly, there's a lot there. Now, it's not all good, but that's okay. You get what you can. You get a variety of different opinions on a particular topic or language or whatever it is you want to learn. For today, there's no excuse for not being prepared and coming up to speed, at least a modicum amount of knowledge of a given subject that is important in the marketplace.
Yeah, it's not really acceptable anymore to say, well, I don't know technology, because some of this stuff is so easy. And if you just get somebody to tutor you a little bit, just using your cell phone, people probably use like 1/1000th of what it'll do for them.
Yeah,
But man, there's so many
exactly.
things out there. So do you help people with that kind of stuff?
Oh, yes, I help in a variety of areas where people need how to translate this technology into something that's usable, something that is market practical, not just it's a good thing and you know it, or you know something that's worthless. I often say it's not going to help you any if you are an expert on tsetse flies in Ethiopia from the 15th century. There's not a big market demand for that. And you could spend a lot of time and borrow thousands and thousands of dollars to go to school and learn something that's basically worthless. Or you can invest that same time, money, and energy into what's going to be very practical, and finding people who are ready, willing, and able to pay for that. That is where we have to focus our attention.
So to recap so far, you got to think globally would be a way to boil that down, right?
Yes.
because there's so much money out there, so many people. And I really got the awakening when the first time I went to Asia and to speak, and they knew everything about the United States. I knew nothing about them. They knew the presidents, they knew all that was going on and everything, because we have been somewhat arrogant, that we're the center of the universe. But there's a lot
Unfortunately,
going
you're
on.
right.
Yeah, there's a lot going on
Yep.
around the world, and you can have a piece of it if you open your eyes to it. So,
Yep.
um,
I also think that's a real good idea, because if the economy goes bad in any one geographical area, it's nice to know that you've got a world out there with other applications. And if you can talk and you can learn, you can use these tools like we have with Zoom. Tom, it is amazing the quality that we get with the video and the audio.
right.
It's almost like you're sitting right there across the table from them in the conference room. And then bandwidth is much better now. Now, in most places, we've got it, and it's going to get even better when we see 5G starting to roll out even more next year.
hmm Yeah, that's for sure. Now, so what do you like best about working for yourself, and what's the worst part?
Well, the best is the freedom, the ability to do what you want when you want to. And the worst part is you have to do something to pay the bills too. You're not going to have that paycheck coming in unless you get out there and hustle. And you've got to do it. But I think it takes a certain kind of idea to do it. But I think being an entrepreneur, working for yourself is really the norm. It's only been since around the late 1900s, early 20th century that we saw people working in a job where they would go somewhere and work doing the same thing over and over. Most people before that, historically, had to fend for themselves. They did something on their own. They got out, did their own thing. And I think that's a natural way for us to live. And I've always felt we would be better off in society and in our world if everyone had their job somehow tailored so that you only got paid when you produced. You would have to do something that is valuable, and then you get paid for that. I don't know how we'd work that out logistically.
I know,
Maybe it says you
especially
get paid
nowadays.
once every day or something. But I think that kind of thing would keep people a little bit more on their toes. They would be kinder to each other because you wouldn't get paid if you're a real jerk.
Right.
And so you'd have to be kind and be nice. But for me, being an entrepreneur, being on my own, lets me control my destiny. Lets me get out there and do what I want to do and provide real value for others. And if something's going wrong, yeah, the market has a way of telling you, hey, you need to change.
Well, there is a movement towards more vocational training. I mean, that's what my school is. It's even though it's internet marketing online, it's considered by the state of Virginia, licensed the whole bit, as a vocational school,
Mhm.
because you actually get a skill that's usable and valuable. And
Yes.
I know these kids are coming out with the $1 trillion in debt in student loans, and they're competing. They're MBAs, and they're competing for jobs at Starbucks.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
uh,
And I think that the problem is we've just said, hey, school is the way to go. Well, I remember I was raised by my mom and dad saying, you got to go to
mhm.
college. Well, for me, it was the right thing for me at that time. But right now, I step back and I talk to my partner, Gina. Gina has an MBA. I have my MBA. She didn't get it from Georgia State where I went, even though she's from Atlanta. She wasn't able to get into Georgia State. She had to settle for Harvard and had to get her MBA at Harvard.
Settle
But
for
that's okay. I still love her. But we sit and talk to each other and we say, would we go back and get an MBA today? And we have to step back and think, well, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Now, for her, it's not only the MBA, but also the people that she got a chance to know and the people she still hangs around with from Harvard that are there. That's good. But I think for many people, unless you're going to be a doctor or a dentist or a CPA, a lawyer, some professions like that, where you really do need to have those credentials, you might want to consider, instead of going to school, getting the thousands and thousands of dollars of debt, that you get a mentorship. Get someone like Tom or others who can take care of you, can work for you and help you. Tom's got situations where I'm just going to go ahead, Tom, and tell him about you if you don't mind. He has helped many people to learn valuable skills that help them. He works with people. He gives a lot. I know this. He's not going to say this himself, but he helps people. He goes out of his way to help them so that they can get through. You can find lots of people today that will be willing to help you, let you kind of work and earn your way through. Don't worry about starting out with lots and lots of money. You want to go first for skills and knowledge. get enough to go through and pay the bills, but really focus on learning new skills that are valuable to the marketplace.
Yeah, that's the key, valuable to the marketplace, because it used to be, only older, well-established 30-year-old people were revered. But
Hmm.
now, they can't fix my cell phone. They can't make my, tell me how to make a posting on Facebook. All right. So young people are revered because they have this skill, but they have to develop it, and they have to not be entitled, and put that out in the marketplace, and they can write their own ticket nowadays. And when you were talking about not being stuck with any local economy, it reminds me, back during 9/11, I went numb. The whole country went numb for a long time, but some of the people that we know went bankrupt in the speaking business because all they could do was get on stage and speak.
Yep,
But
you're absolutely right.
I was numb for a week, and like everybody, and just shell shocked. But money was still coming in from around the world. I mean, not so much from the U.S., but then I had, we're in 80 countries, and we sell kind of in 40 countries. So this is back to the thinking global mentality that can be, I call it an insurance policy for your family,
I think you're
because
absolutely right. It's a matter of being able to provide real value to the marketplace. I love what you said. It's like those that are under 30 that can do it. They've got a skill that the market values. And I also saw it vividly a few days ago, like I was mentioning, when I worked with Carlos Slim. He sat there on the front row while I was giving my presentation, taking notes, taking pictures of my slides. We talked afterwards. And then when the whole conference was over, he stood up on the stage for an hour. And here's a 79-year-old man doing this for an hour. He gave detailed analysis of all the presentations, talked about what they're doing, gave real value, insight into finance, into marketing, into politics. And you think, wow, here's a guy that some people think, oh, I'm getting too old. When I reach X age, whatever they define as X, they're no longer useful. No, 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 no. The key is you can be useful and productive at any age if you have the skills that are market valuable.
and he was demonstrating to all of us continuous learning. I
Yes.
mean, that's the old Kaizen principle in Japan is,
Yep.
continuous improvement. So continuous learning. And that's keeping his brain sharp too. I mean, there's studies that say that that's going to help with the onset of Alzheimer's, So when people say, oh, I'm not, it wasn't my generation. Well, hey, you're surrounded by it. Let's do it. In fact, I was at an airport one time, Terry. I saw this lady in a wheelchair. She had to be in her 70s, and she was doing something. Her grandson was there, and she was trying to get him to help her take a picture with her tablet or something. And he said, "Grandma, I thought," and this is back a little while. She said, "But I thought you liked Polaroids." And for those of you that don't know what that is, that's like something that develops in a minute. She said, "Yeah, that takes a minute to develop. I don't know if I have another minute." So,
I like it.
yeah. So yeah, the lot of older people are embracing technology and staying in touch with their families way better than ever in the past, because with FaceTime and all the other technologies, they can be right there in their grandchildren's house, So
Yeah.
so
The
it's
tools are available, and it's a matter of really saying, hey, I can do it. I'm going to figure it out. And if you can't, and that's okay. We don't all know it. I mean, we need to get people help us. Hey, this is why we've got tools like Zoom and others. You can hire somebody, be willing to part with your capital, hire somebody, pay them through PayPal
mhm.
or some other means, Stripe or Bitcoin. By the way, Bitcoin is doing extraordinarily well today. And we can see there's all kinds of tools that are out there. Pay the person for the knowledge they have, and you're going to be better off when you do that.
Oh, and speaking of that, I just thought of something when you were talking about going to other countries. For any speakers out there, there's a service called italki. Did you ever hear of
Yes.
this? Yeah,
Yes,
where it's
italki is wonderful for
native
learning and sharing with
speakers.
others to learn those languages.
Some of them are $6 an hour. We'll sit there and teach you one on one, for language and their native speakers in their country. So
Yep.
perfect. I mean, they'll tell you things, I'm sure, that you would never just learn by a travel guide or something that you could say in front of your audience that would just make them love you. Most of them,
Oh,
anyway.
yeah.
I think some countries, like maybe France, doesn't like you, screwing up their language, but most of them, you really get a kick out of that you at least tried. So,
Yeah, I think that's the key. If you at least try, it's good. And talking to someone through italki, Tom, you hit on something real important. We were talking about going to, Slovenia or
Slovenia, yeah.
Slovakia, or something like
Oh,
that.
don't
If you
say
could,
both of them. They're different countries.
yeah, that's true. They are different
Yeah.
countries.
So
But if you say, okay, I want to talk to someone from that country, you can ask them, okay, what is going on today? What do I
right.
need to know? What's current? What's happening? And then if you go over there, for instance, as a speaker, and you stand on stage and you mention something that is local that's going on, people look at each other and go, whoa, he knows what he's talking about. He did his research.
Yeah, and they love it too. And another thing I use, I think it's called Google Alerts. It used to be way back when we had CompuServe. You had to pay for executive CompuServe to get this. But if I'm speaking somewhere, I just put in keywords for that area, and it just sends me every day all the news for that area based on that keyword. And
That is a
so,
brilliant tool. That one, I use that every
hmm
day.
hmm
And Talk Walker, another one that kind of goes even beyond that. So it gives you
what's
ideas
that?
and
What
what's
is Talk Walker?
Talk Walker is similar to Google Alerts. It's looking for a phrase, your name, or a given topic,
Hmm.
and it seems to reach out to some other sources as well. So I like to
Oh,
use both,
yeah,
and they
right.
get a lot of good information that way.
Well, yeah. One time I was speaking for Hallmark Cards, and I had the minute I booked the job, I put Hallmark Cards in there, and I just started collecting all this stuff. But that morning before I went down to speak, something came in, and it was like some brand new thing about Hallmark. I don't remember what it was, but I went down and talked about it, and they didn't know about it. so
Mm.
so I was like, they couldn't believe it. They thought I was in their company. So yeah, you can do all of these things are at your fingertips nowadays. So you're negligent really if you don't use them. If you want to be a top pro speaker, that's for sure.
Yes.
So how do people? We have mostly we don't. I don't think anybody that listens to this show is near the richest person in the world. So I don't know how they can work with you, or how they could. Do you have products for sale, or what kind of speaking engagements you look for? How can we help you?
Well, I am here to serve and to help others. I do that in a variety of ways. Of course, speaking, but do a lot of coaching. A lot of
Okay.
coaching, helping people one on one and one to a small group
I
or
didn't
a
know
large
that.
group.
Okay.
And so that way I get a chance to really customize what's there to help others. And for me, that's the real joy. The joy comes, yes, it's okay to get money. I'm a stark raving free market kind of guy. And I believe in helping others and providing value for value. But the great joy comes from helping others, and it really turns their life around. So I do a lot of that, do a lot of writing as a
And so
journalist,
coaching on what topics?
coaching on topics like marketing and technology.
Mm-hmm.
And, Tom, interesting in the last year, and it's emerging even more now, I'm seeing a lot of areas on cryptocurrencies and blockchain and
Yeah,
what's happening with that.
I have no idea what that stuff's all about.
And Tom, you'd be the perfect person to talk to about that. You remember me back in the early to mid 70s when I was talking about this thing called technology, and people would laugh, and I would say, you need to get this thing called email in this information superhighway that's
Hmm.
how we called the internet back then.
Right.
And people would say, "Oh, Terry, we don't know what you're talking about. Oh, that's crazy. I can't do that." Well, now look, it's here.
Exactly.
And, with all due respect, yeah, I was right. And so I see the same thing with blockchain and with Bitcoin, because here's what's going to happen. What email did to the post office, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are going to do that to banks.
Ah,
Because with the crypto, you are your own bank. You don't need them.
so they're not really behind this, I imagine.
Actually,
So
some of the
the
smarter
smart
banks
ones
are
would have,
embracing it.
yeah, exactly, because they're going to be in trouble if they don't.
Yeah, it's just like this week. One of the reasons we're seeing a big jump in Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin today, as we're recording this right now, is a little over $9,700. Earlier this year, it was about 3,000.
Wow.
Do the math, and it's the best return so far this year over any stock, any bonds, any
Why do
commodities
you
like
think
gold.
that is?
Well, because we look at the numbers from 3,000 to over 9,000. That's
Right, but
huge.
I mean, why do you think it went from 3,000 to 9,000?
I think it's because it's being accepted more. For instance, right now, as we're speaking, as we're doing this recording, Facebook is proposing a
Right.
cryptocurrency
Yep.
of their own called Libra. And they are working with Visa. They're working with other companies that are established. They're getting approval from the major government offices and eradicating a lot of the problems that were there before and questions that people had about using cryptocurrency. Oh, this is only for drugs or this is only for bad things. But no, it's being used legitimately now because it's so much faster, more reliable, and it's so much better all the way around, more secure than anything we have right now in the other world.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Yeah. So how do they find you?
Well, the best way to find me would be over at my website, and that is terrybrock.com, which is spelled Terry, and Brock is spelled the right way, Brock. So it's terrybrock.com. And you got all my contact there with social media and email, which, by the way, is terry@terrybrock.com.
Wow, that's
Reach
amazing.
me that way.
Yeah. All right, so we have to take a brief sponsor break, and then when we come back, we're going to ask Terry what's a typical day look like for him and how he stays motivated. So, folks, if you want somebody to hold your hand through all this stuff, well, you got Terry on a lot of stuff that I don't even go near. I tell you, I'm not credible at, but check out his website, terrybrock.com, for that. But if you want the nuts and bolts of selling online, like I've been doing since the commercial internet started around 1994, check out my mentor program. It's the longest running, most successful, and most unique program ever on this topic. And it includes a scholarship to my licensed internet marketing school, which is the only one in the country, and also an immersion weekend at the Great Internet Marketing Retreat Center here in Virginia Beach, along with a year-long program where you have access to me and my entire staff to hold your hand, like Terry was talking about with Zoom and Team Viewer, and we take over your computer and hold your hand through doing all these things that are so complex until somebody helps you with it, and then they're not complex anymore. So check it all out at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com, greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. All right, let's get back to our main event. Terry Brock is here with us. He's a CPAE. That's the highest designation by the prestigious National Speakers Association, and also a CSP, which I'm not smart enough or organized enough to get after all these years. But you don't have to have that. But boy, he's got the creds. I'll tell you that. So Terry, what's a typical day look like for you? Like, when do you get up? Do you exercise?
Well,
Do you eat? What do you do?
yeah, I don't know if it's typical because every day is a little bit different. But when I'm here at home, where I am in Orlando, Florida, I love being here. I usually get up around 4, and I find 4 o'clock is a time when there's not as much going on out there in the rest of the world.
Yep.
So it's a little bit quieter. I can study. So I like to get up and I like to every day do something for SEM: study, exercise, meditation. Something that's going to stretch my brain, something where I'll learn and do that. I was reading a book this morning, a couple of them, and watching. I just finished an audio or a video series from copywriters from Agora Publishing. Matter of fact, they're $1.5 billion, and I got a chance. Their publisher showing me how to do this and what to do, and I went through the whole thing. So I like studying, and then the exercise, doing push-ups, calisthenics. Last night I was out swimming. We've got a pool in the state of Florida. I think it's a law that you must have a swimming pool
with a big cage around it, right? Or
something like that.
Big, well, don't they have like screen door stuff all over the pools and stuff?
Screen door,
like they have a big
some of them do
cover, to keep the bugs out.
Some of them do. We don't, and we've never had a problem with that.
Okay.
It's just fine. But I love doing the swimming and exercise. I think that's really important. And then meditation, a time to be quiet, a time to pray or just have quiet, reflective thinking, meditation, whatever works for you. That kind of time, I think, is very important to do that as much as possible every day. I don't get it done every day, but on those days I do it, I'm better. And so my routine is doing that, reading good quality information, stretching my brain. I love watching great training and good programs that are on YouTube. Today, there's such a wealth of information from marvelous, brilliant people who are successful. I find it both educational and inspirational. And the fact we can get that at any time is just amazing.
And I just watched one yesterday of why there's no mosquitoes at Disney World.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that, but
Oh my
we
God.
live just a little ways from there. We
Yeah.
see Disney
Well,
World from our balcony,
you
or our
won't
lobby, I should
believe
say.
what they do on mosquito control. I mean, because you're right in the middle of a swamp, you know. So,
Yeah.
so yeah. So the stuff's at your fingertips. I'm the same thing, continuous learner. So I'm being faced right now. I own just in this estate and this other rental property. I have 7 air conditioning units, and they're all R22 refrigerant, which is, as of January 2020, is illegal to make anymore. So,
Why?
well,
Why
because
is it
it hits the ozone layer. It's an ozone depleting refrigerant, so it's all being replaced with 410A and other ones that aren't ozone depleting.
illegal?
But you know, I got 7 air conditioners. Now you can have them as long as you can keep them running. So I'm faced with like $50,000 worth of these giant air conditioners
Oh my
going bad.
goodness.
So I'm studying for my EPA exam because you have to have that to handle refrigerant. Learning, I just got, as soon as we're done here, I'm going to go put a new contactor in a unit that I figured out on YouTube how to check if this part was bad, and then $11 I'll fix the air conditioner instead of 150. And we fixed one last week, it would have been 1,500, and we fixed it for 300. You know, so yeah, it's just you know, no matter how much money I make, I'm still a kid came from a 2-horse town with a blue collar dad that said learn how to do stuff. You know, and you're never stuck when you can do stuff for yourself. So extends the technology, which you help people do. So anyway, so then what? So after you get done with your SEM,
With the SEM, then that I work on client activities. What is it that we're doing for different clients that I have around the world, and look at what I want to do and where can I put the most effective use of my time, money, and energy for the day. And so, like today, getting a chance to talk with you, Tom, it's like a real joy. I appreciate
me
you
too. Yeah,
asking me that because I've admired you for many years, and you
same
and I have
here.
known each other throughout the years. It's good to do that, and I like connecting with people, and I'm doing that now more and more through Zoom,
Right.
through the video technology, because I can see people in many different countries much more efficiently and quickly than we can trying to get there physically. But there is a place still for physical
Absolutely.
presence.
Face to face will never be replaced. There's
Absolutely. You know, we want to see that. It's not like one's going to replace. I predict 100 years from now, we're still going to want to get together with people, shake their hand, have breakfast or lunch, or share a few drinks in the evening and talk with people. That's one of the benefits of going to conferences and conventions where people are hanging out. You see them, and it puts the relationship in a whole different perspective when you've met someone through a physical connection.
except in 100 years, we'll all have those little tiny alien hands, big
We
heads.
might, you never know.
So you work through the day, then what?
And then in the evening, I'll exercise sometimes then. And then one thing that's really important to me is Gina, my partner, and I will get together. And we've been together for almost 9 years now. And we make sure that we, most every day, I mean, probably 99.9% of the days, we have a date in the
Nice.
evening. We have a date where we get together and just say, how you doing? How was your day today? What happened? What was good?
Oh,
Oh,
that's
did you
nice.
have a call? Oh, you had a call with so and so. How is she? Is she still that way? Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh, here's an opportunity though, and then we'll do that. And then on our home theater, we watch some wonderful videos on YouTube that are training our minds, helping us to learn, as well as some wonderful music. And then just kind of sign off. Sometimes I like to go out on our balcony. We look out over 4 lakes here from the place where we are, and we see it. And I like to just relax, wind down, and then go to bed and get ready for another exciting day the next day.
All right, now that's very, very beautiful lifestyle you built for yourself. But what about when you're on the road?
On the road, of course, it's going to vary each
Mm.
time, but I try to make sure that when Gina and I travel together, and we do often, not all the time, but often, we still have that
Does
time
she
of
get up at
date.
4?
She sometimes does, sometimes, but not always. She's been getting up at 4 recently and heading down to the Y and working out with a special class that's going on there for a while now.
Wow.
So that is good that we get a chance to do that. But other times, I just get up and quietly, emphasis on the
Hmm.
quietly, leave the room there and get over to my study and start getting things done that way.
Is she part of your business, or you have 2 separate businesses, or what?
Yeah, we have 2 separate businesses. Actually, we found it works better for us, and I think each couple has to decide what works best for them. We found it works best when you have a yours, mine, and ours.
Ah, okay.
So there's some things that are mine. I'm operating on that. She gives input and we'll talk about it from time to time. She has other areas that are hers. I'll give input and talk about it. Maybe, for instance, she's doing a great training program right now called Video Rock Stars, and how to be involved with video, how to use it for your business, etc. And I will go on a program every now and then and talk about it, since I'm doing so much with video, and we'll do that. And then we have an hours. So that's money that's mutual for what we're doing here. And we find that combination tends to work well for us.
Couples sometimes, like I used to know this couple, they had one office in their home and they would text each other in the office instead of turn around and talk to each other.
We find it's, for us, it's a combination. Her office is on the other side of the condo, so I'll go over there physically and tell her, like, for instance, if a big win comes through, somebody asked me to come and speak somewhere, I got a new client,
Right.
et cetera, so things like that, I go bouncing down the hall like a little kid. I go, guess what just happened? Yay! And we celebrate. They say, tonight we're going to celebrate that. We like to celebrate regularly, but then also there's times when something devastating would happen, or maybe we lose someone that's very close to us. And so we have that to share as well. And it's nice, but she has her study over there and I have mine here. And we make sure that we both are respectful of each other. There are times when we say, I need to be alone.
Right.
I've got to study this. I need to focus on what's going on here and really do that well. And so that's what we'll do. And we respect that. Sometimes we say, okay, we'll close the door. We don't lock it. In the event of an emergency, you want to get in. But we say, if the door is closed, that just means, barring an emergency, we're going to be working on something, and I'll see you in just a little bit.
Right. So how do you stay motivated?
For me, I think it's probably looking at the goals and thinking of what I want to do. And then I find that helps a lot. I also find a lot of motivation from reading. I love reading books, and I tend to read them more on my Kindle now. On the Kindle, on my smartphone, I've got an Android Note 8 from Samsung, and I use that extensively with Kindle. So reading good quality books. I've got some books that I've read that are just absolute golden, and I've read them sometimes many, many times, 5, 10, 20 times through the years.
Why don't you send me a list? I can put them in the show notes if some of the ones you really love.
Thank you, Tom. You help me all the time. That's just right there. I don't have that list, but it would be good to do that. Maybe to put the books down and then break them into category of, here's a good one, and maybe even a comment as to why, what was so inspirational. Yeah. Another way I find I get a lot of motivation is reading biographies of successful people to find out what they did and the challenges they went through in their time, in their place in history, and how that would relate to what we're doing today.
And that's what we're doing right now, actually. The people that are listening to this have just heard your biography to a certain extent. So we're kind of doing it in a different format right now.
Yep, exactly. And doing those kind of things tend to be their inspiration. Oh, and by the way, I got another thing is I find really fun for me, which is inspiring and giving the good endorphins and the dopamines in the brain to kick in and go for. I ride a unicycle. And so I get out in our area here in Orlando and I ride my unicycle around. It's like, not everybody does that.
No, you're not supposed to text while riding unicycles. I think
I don't text. I guarantee you, I'm not even going to listen to an audio. As much as I love listening while I'm on that unicycle, you're fully alert there. But my mind gets filled with all kinds of happy. I'm enjoying it. It's kind of fun, Tom. We live here near a place
when they're driving by.
I'm sorry, what?
Do people beep the horn at you when you're driving?
Oh, yeah. Often they do, and they're cheering and all that. It's fun. But what I really enjoy, Tom, is we are right near a place. You come to Orlando, Sand Lake Road is one. Most towns have some place that is like a parking lot. It's just jammed with traffic. And I love riding my unicycle by as the cars are parked almost in a parking lot there, not going anywhere, just waving to them. And I'm going by on my one wheel, beating their four wheels. I love it.
Oh, man. What would be a funny picture is have you pulled over by a cop for like splitting traffic and stuff.
I've not had that happen yet. We try to obey the laws.
Can you imagine, somebody pulled over on a unicycle? Oh boy. So it's been so great catching up with you, man. I really appreciate it and giving us insights into your life and the great tips that you gave to everybody. So thanks so much, man.
You bet, Tom. It's always good to be with you, and I appreciate you having me on. And for those of you that are listening to this, get to know Tom even better. You're getting a chance to know him here through this. He is a wonderful man. I'm saying this to somebody, he didn't tell me to say this. He's not twisting my arm. I've known him for decades, not just a few years, decades. And he's a person that gives a lot of value to people. Get to know him, get to know what he can do, and your life will be better because of it.
Well, thanks so much for those kind words, Terry, and all Terry stuff. And we're going to twist his arm to give us a little book list, maybe in the next couple of weeks, and get it in the show notes for him. But if you need private coaching on the kinds of things he handles, boy, you can't have a more reputable and wonderful guy that will take care of you. So thanks a lot, Terry, and for